Welcome to the virtual public input meeting presentation for the North Dakota Department of Transportation's State Street Safety and Intersection Improvements Project from Divide Avenue to Calgary Avenue in Bismarck, North Dakota. My name is Dion Wozniak and I am the Houston Engineering Project Manager. On behalf of the North Dakota Department of Transportation, the City of Bismarck, and Houston Engineering, we want to thank you for taking your time to view this presentation we have prepared for this project. The objectives of this presentation are to discuss the proposed project on State Street and to provide an opportunity for the public to provide feedback by increasing public awareness of the project. During this presentation, we will discuss the project location and overview, the project schedule, purpose and need for the project, the proposed safety improvement alternatives being considered at intersections along the corridor, environmental considerations, impacts the proposed construction will have on the traveling public, and project funding. The goal of this presentation is to solicit public feedback and answer any questions the public may have. Public comments received will be responded to in a timely manner and will be included in the final environmental document. The State Street Safety Improvement Project would begin south of the Divide Avenue intersection near North 12th Street and end at the Calgary Avenue intersection. The project includes intersection improvement alternatives at several locations along the corridor as depicted by the orange line on the lower image. In addition, concrete pavement repairs are proposed along the State Street segment as highlighted in blue. Also, there will be structure improvement work including deck spall, abutment and pier spall, and barrier repairs on the Interstate 94 overpass structure as highlighted in red. The project schedule has several key milestones representing various project development phases which must be completed before the project can be bid. The field review is the initial key activity where the project team reviews existing conditions and project concepts. The field review was completed in October of 2020. Currently, the project is in the preliminary engineering and environmental documentation phase, which includes today's virtual public input meeting. Public comments received from the public input meeting, along with the project team responses, are incorporated into the environmental document. The environmental document will also address environmental impacts related to the project alternatives. The selection of the recommended project alternatives and options will be included in the final and approved environmental document, which is scheduled for completion in winter of 2021. Once the proposed alternatives and options are approved, final design and plan preparation will commence with an anticipated completion in August of 2022. Construction on the project is scheduled to begin in the spring of 2023 with substantial completion by fall of 2023 and final project closeout in the spring of 2024. The segment of State Street we are discussing today was reconstructed and widened to 6 lanes during the 2002 and 2003 construction seasons. Since that time, increased traffic demand along the corridor has resulted in declining traffic flow operations, higher delays, longer queue lengths, and higher crash rates at several intersections. As traffic demand continues to increase in the future, the efficiencies will continue to decline to below acceptable levels. The purpose of this project is to consider improvements that address the project issues by improving traffic flow and operations along the State Street corridor, access management revisions at selected locations to improve operations and safety, implement crash reduction countermeasures corridor-wide and at selected intersections, replace the aging traffic signal control system, and correct deficiencies in the pavement surface and overpass structure. Intersection crashes are a key factor in the need for improvements along this corridor. Reducing the potential crash conflict areas would lead to improving intersection and corridor safety. Currently, there are 5 intersections on the North Dakota Department of Transportation Urban High Crash Location List, which has been increasing over the past 5 years. In efforts to improve traffic safety and operations, a traffic operations study update was completed by the North Dakota Department of Transportation in 2020. The update analyzed improvement alternatives that could improve safety while simultaneously improving level of service throughout the corridor from Divide Avenue to Calgary Avenue. As was noted, a key factor in improving the corridor safety is to address the increasing crash rates along State Street. The project alternatives that we will present will address improving traffic flow by providing added capacity and reducing turning movement conflicts that can lead to crashes. In review of the North Dakota Urban High Crash Location List from 2017 to 2019, on the left, the Divide Avenue, I-94 eastbound ramps, Interstate Avenue, and Century Avenue intersections were listed. On the 2018 to 2020 list on the right, these intersections, in addition to Calgary Avenue, were found to rank in the top 50 urban locations statewide. Based on the data collected as part of the 2020 Traffic Operations Study, it was documented that 55% of all crashes were of the rear end type. Of the total crashes reported, 76% resulted in property damage solely, and 24% included possible injury, and fatal related accidents. We will continue the discussion with an in-depth review of the safety improvement alternatives proposed for this project. The project alternatives have been grouped into two segments along the State Street project corridor. The segment from Divide Avenue to Interstate 94, referred to as the South segment, and the segment from Interstate 94 to Calgary Avenue, referred to as the North segment. Overall, there are three primary alternatives proposed for the intersections within these State Street segments. These include Alternative A, which is a no-build alternative and would include no modifications along the entire corridor. Alternative B includes traditional intersection modifications consisting of turn lane additions or extensions, curb ramps, traffic signal improvements, and access modifications. And Alternative C, partial median U-turns, include like improvements as Alternative B at specific locations. However, the significant improvements include reconfiguring intersection operations by constructing partial median U-turns and related improvements and access modifications along the South segment and at Century Avenue. We will begin with the safety improvement Alternative B at the Divide Avenue intersection and continue along the corridor to Calgary Avenue. Alternative B traditional turn lane modifications at Divide Avenue intersection include the addition of northbound and southbound right turn lanes on State Street, the addition of eastbound and westbound dual left turn lanes on Divide Avenue, which result in the second eastbound through lane being removed, lengthening the existing northbound left turn lane, and replacement of the traffic signal system and curb ramp upgrades to meet the Americans with Disabilities Act, referred to as ADA guidelines. Also, a new State Street crosswalk would be installed on the south side of the intersection. This alternative would decrease the future year 2039 intersection delay by 22% compared to the existing operations, but would have 200% greater delays compared to Alternative C. Alternative B, traditional turn lane modifications at Spaulding Avenue include modifying the intersection to a 3/4 axis intersection. This type of modification has been found to substantially reduce crash rates by eliminating through and left turn movements from crossing multiple lanes on the major street, resulting in right-in, right-out access. 3/4 axis intersections can also improve minor street operations by removing delay from left turn and through traffic. Of note, the raised median would be traversable for mobile home access to Lichty homes. Alternative B traditional turn lane modifications to the Capitol Avenue intersection include the addition of northbound and southbound right turn lanes on State Street, lengthening the northbound left turn lane, and the replacement of the traffic signal system, as well as curb ramp upgrades. Divide Avenue acts as a bottleneck for northbound traffic south of Interstate 94. If Divide Avenue is improved, then more northbound traffic passes through Divide Avenue, but subsequently overloads Capitol Avenue and queues form. Therefore, with Alternative B, future year 2039 intersection delays increased by 200% compared to existing operations. However, Alternative B would have 450% higher delays than Alternative C. Alternative B traditional turn lane modifications at Interchange Avenue include the addition of a raised median to create a 3/4 axis intersection, which would prohibit the left turn movements from Interchange Avenue onto State Street. This type of modification has been found to substantially reduce crash rates by eliminating through and left turn movements from crossing multiple lanes on the major street, resulting in right-in, right-out access. 3/4 axis intersections can also improve minor street operations by removing delay from left turn and through traffic movements. Alternative B, eastbound ramp lane extension at Interstate 94 includes lengthening the eastbound off-ramp turn lanes and replacement of the traffic signal systems at the eastbound and westbound ramp intersections. Alternative B, option 1, traditional turn lane modifications at the Interstate Avenue intersection include the addition of westbound dual left turn lanes at Interstate Avenue, removal of a southbound left turn lane from State Street and the corresponding eastbound through lane on the east leg, and the replacement of the traffic signal system as well as curb ramp upgrades. Also, new crosswalks on the south side of Interstate Avenue and east side of State Street would be installed. Alternative B, option 2, traditional turn lane modifications at Interstate Avenue are similar to option 1, with the exception of adding a raised median on the east leg and minor widening on the west leg. The raised median would improve westbound traffic flow, but would reduce access to and from North 13th Street. A driveway access modification along the north side of Interstate Avenue is also proposed. Alternative B, option 1, traditional turn lane modifications include the following improvements to the Century Avenue intersection and corridor: the addition of westbound dual left turn lanes at Century Avenue, lengthening the eastbound left turn lane to North 15th Street, lengthening the northbound and southbound right turn lanes on State Street, and the replacement of the traffic signal systems at State Street and North 11th Street intersections, as well as curb ramp upgrades. Also, a new State Street crosswalk would be installed on the south side of the intersection. This alternative would decrease the future year 2039 intersection delay by 22% compared to existing operations, but would have approximately 150% greater delays compared to alternative C. As depicted in the inset layout, these improvements will reduce the North 14th Street access to right-in, right-out turning movements. To complete an eastbound to northbound left turn movement at North 14th Street, motorists would travel east to North 15th Street, north to Mapleton Avenue, and west to North 14th Street. For southbound left turn movements from North 14th Street, motorists would travel along North 14th Street to Mapleton Avenue and south along North 15th Street. Alternative B, option 2, modifications at Century Avenue are very similar to option 1, with only difference being the addition of dual eastbound to northbound left turn lanes on Century Avenue, along with a raised median on the west leg, similar to the current conditions. These improvements would result in narrowing the driving lanes on the west leg to 10 feet wide, where option 1 lane widths range from 11 feet to 12 feet wide. Alternative B, traditional turn lane modifications at WEISS Avenue, Harvest Lane intersection include the addition of northbound dual left turn lanes to WEISS Avenue and minor widening on WEISS Avenue, the addition of northbound right turn lane to Harvest Lane, and replacement of the traffic signal system as well as curb ramp upgrades. Also, new crosswalks would be installed on the north side of Harvest Lane and east side of State Street. And lastly, alternative B, traditional turn lane modifications at the Calgary Avenue intersection include realignment of the west leg of Calgary Avenue to State Street, the addition of eastbound and westbound right turn lanes to State Street, and replacement of the traffic signal system as well as curb ramp upgrades. This concludes the discussion on the alternative B, traditional turn lane modifications along the project corridor. We will begin discussion on the basis of the alternative C, partial median U-turn modifications on the next slide. Before we review the layout drawings of alternative C modifications at the Divide Avenue, Capitol Avenue, and Century Avenue intersections, we will first discuss what a partial median U-turn is and how this intersection type operates. A partial median U-turn, or MUT, intersection is an innovative traffic operations solution for improving safety and mobility at intersections by reducing left turn crashes, reducing overall intersection delay, and providing shorter queue lengths at the main intersection. At a MUT intersection, direct left turns from the major street are replaced with a downstream U-turn, followed by a right turn. Due to the high traffic volumes on State Street and limited gaps between vehicles, the U-turn locations would be signalized for U-turners and for opposing through traffic. The minor roadway or side street turning movements are unchanged under a partial median U-turn. In the figure shown, turning movements along State Street are depicted in the red line work. To make a left turn from State Street, proceed through the intersection. Note the left turn lanes are removed. Make a U-turn and turn right onto the minor roadway. There are no changes in right turn movements. Turning movements from the minor roadways are depicted in the blue line work. There are no changes in these movements as part of a partial MUT. With the partial median U-turn being a new traffic operations concept, adequate signage is necessary to alert the traveling motorist of the lane assignments to properly navigate through a partial median U-turn. As depicted in the upper image, sections at various locations of traffic flow through a partial median U-turn are highlighted in the lower half of this slide. Section AA depicts advanced guide sign on the major street to assist drivers in pre-positioning prior to the main intersection. Section BB depicts the signalized location where northbound traffic is required to stop to accommodate the southbound U-turn movement. Section CC is located at the traditional stop bar location at the traffic signal at Century Avenue, which includes the 4 northbound lanes and right turn lane traffic signals. Note the signage for prohibited left turns and U-turns. Section DD illustrates directional guide signing and regulatory signing affixed to the signals facing U-turn traffic. And Section EE provides directional guide signage for southbound traffic following the U-turn movement. Next, we would like to present an informational video published by the Federal Highway Administration that further discusses the principles of median U-turns. Following this video, we will present 3 partial median U-turn simulations for the State Street and Century Avenue intersection.
Today, our communities face a growing number of transportation challenges. As traffic volumes grow and congestion worsens, motorists, pedestrians, and cyclists confront greater risks at intersections. We need balanced solutions that improve safety and keep people moving. At the Federal Highway Administration, our first priority is safety, and our mission is to improve mobility for the users of our nation's highways. In support of these goals, we've been evaluating innovative intersection designs for many years. Where they have been built, travelers save time, agencies save money, and communities benefit from safer facilities. One innovative intersection design, the median U-turn, mitigates the risks of the left-hand turn. The driver passes through the main intersection and proceeds to a median opening, where the driver makes a U-turn followed by a right turn.
Alternative intersections are worth considering because they deliver more for less. They get more cars through the same spaces than a conventional intersection, and they deliver better safety than a conventional intersection.
At many intersections, the critical question is how to address left turns. How they are treated has an impact on the efficiency of the intersection and can reduce a crash type that tends to be quite severe.
The left turns at the intersection are the highest risk turns, so if you can eliminate those, you're significantly eliminating those higher risk turns and the number of conflict points at those intersections.
Yeah, I would definitely say that we respond to less incidents at this intersection now that there is a Michigan turnaround in both areas, both north and south.
The median U-turn, or Michigan left, where it has been in use since the 1960s, removes the left turns from the signal-controlled intersection on either the minor or major road, or in some cases, both.
Roadways that have median U-turns can punch huge amounts of traffic through there. Because you can take intersections with 80, 90, 100,000 vehicles per day and run those intersections with a 2-phase traffic signal.
The median U-turn treatment involves the elimination of the direct left turns at signal-controlled intersections from major and/or minor approaches. To make a left at a median U-turn, the driver passes through the main intersection and proceeds to a median opening, where the driver makes a U-turn followed by a right turn. Guide signs are provided and inform motorists as they approach the intersection. The median U-turns themselves may or may not be signalized.
The Michigan left treatment is one of our safest roadway design next to the freeway. This design reduces crashes by decreasing the conflicts and also alleviate congestion.
The median U-turns concept is also very adaptable. Although typically a corridor treatment, it has also been used successfully for isolated intersections to address a left turn hazard. Median U-turns have been implemented along roadways with both narrow and wide medians. When the median width is narrow, extra pavement or looms or bump outs can be installed to accommodate larger vehicles. Relocating the left turn reduces the number and complexity of conflicts between traffic and pedestrians and bicyclists, especially at the far side of the turn.
The highest risk issue for pedestrians is the drivers in the left turning vehicles. But when they're only dealing with the right turning vehicles in front of them, it tends to be easier for the pedestrians and there's more visibility for the pedestrians as they're crossing the roadway.
The median U-turn can reduce the number of signal phases at the intersections, in some cases by as much as half, resulting in significantly improved efficiency. Studies have shown a 20 to 50% increase in capacity. Median U-turns can be tailored to a variety of surrounding conditions. Median U-turns exist along heavy freight corridors, highly developed retail boulevards, busy regional arterials, and even local streets.
The good niche for a median U-turn is two busy streets, two rather large volume arterial streets with relatively low left turn demand.
Michigan has constructed median U-turns along corridors all throughout the state, going back more than 4 decades. Other states, including Utah and Louisiana, have built median U-turns with plans to build more in the future. By reducing the number of conflict points, the median U-turns result in safer intersections and roadways as compared to conventional signalized intersections. Moreover, the median U-turn design can be less costly and quicker to build than a conventional design. And finally, the median U-turn is an especially robust intersection solution, capable of effectively serving user needs and accommodating growth well into the future. The Federal Highway Administration encourages communities and agencies to consider the median U-turn to improve the safety and efficiency of existing intersections, as well as an option for new intersections. For more information about the median U-turn and other innovative intersection designs, please visit safety.fhwa.dot.gov.
This first simulation video will highlight an overview of the partial median U-turn on State Street from Interstate Avenue to WEISS Avenue Harvest Lane intersection. This second video will simulate the northbound traffic flow at the State Street and Century Avenue intersection. The last video will simulate the southbound traffic flow at the State Street and Century Avenue intersection. Now that we've discussed how partial median U-turns operate and visualize how traffic patterns are rerouted through a main intersection, we will begin our discussion of the alternative C partial median U-turn layouts throughout the corridor, beginning at the Divide Avenue intersection. Implementation of a partial median U-turn would include the following modifications. Shift northbound and southbound left turn lanes through Divide Avenue, location 1 depicted by blue circle, to where drivers would make a U-turn at a new signalized median location, blue circle number 2, and travel in the opposing direction to complete a right turn to continue travel along Divide Avenue, blue circle number 3. Eastbound and westbound turning movements and traffic lanes remain unchanged. Add northbound and southbound right turn lanes. Prohibit left turns from side street approaches adjacent to the median U-turn locations, including North 12th Street, Dairy Queen, and former Kelly Inn approach. Prohibit southbound left turns to the Dairy Queen and the replacement of the traffic signal system, as well as curb ramp upgrades. Like alternative B, a new State Street crosswalk would be installed on the south side of the intersection. As depicted in the inset layout, left turn movements at the former Kelly Inn approach and the Dairy Queen approach would be completed by traveling north to the Spaulding Avenue intersection, which would only apply to Capitol Avenue MUT option 3. These movements would reroute to Divide Avenue or Capitol Avenue for Capitol Avenue MUT options 1 and 2 to be discussed next. Alternative C, partial median U-turn at Capitol Avenue, has 3 optional layouts, 1, 2, and 3. Base modifications with regards to alternative C, option 1 include shift northbound and southbound left turn lanes through Capitol Avenue, blue circle number 1, to where drivers would make a U-turn at a new signalized median location, blue circle number 2, and travel in the opposing direction to complete a right turn to continue travel along Capitol Avenue, blue circle number 3. Eastbound and westbound turning movements and traffic lanes remain unchanged. Add a northbound right turn lane at Interchange Avenue. Prohibit left turns from side street approaches at Spaulding Avenue and Interchange Avenue. Prohibit northbound and southbound left turns at Spaulding Avenue. However, the median would be traversable for access to Lichty homes. Prohibit southbound left turn at Interchange Avenue and replacement of the traffic signal system, as well as curb ramp upgrades. As depicted in the inset layout, westbound left turn movements at Interchange Avenue would be completed by traveling east to Capitol Avenue and then travel west to the State Street intersection. Southbound left turn and eastbound left turn movements at Interchange Avenue would follow State Street to the median U-turn south of Capitol Avenue. Alternative C, option 2 modifications are similar to option 1, with primary difference being the south median U-turn is relocated to the Spaulding Avenue intersection, creating a 3/4 axis intersection, permitting northbound and southbound left turn movements from State Street onto Spaulding Avenue, and provides a traversable median. Alternative C, option 3 modifications are also similar to option 1, with primary difference being the south median U-turn is relocated north of the Spaulding Avenue intersection, resulting in no modifications to the Spaulding Avenue intersection. Alternative C, northbound turn lane extension and eastbound ramp lane extension improvements at the Interstate 94 eastbound and westbound ramps include lengthening the northbound left turn lane to the westbound on-ramp, prohibit left turns from side street approaches at Interchange Avenue, and removal of the southbound left turn lane at Interchange Avenue. Improvements which are included with alternatives B or C include lengthening the eastbound off-ramp turn lanes and replacement of the traffic signal systems at the eastbound and westbound ramp intersections. Alternative C, partial median U-turn at Century Avenue, focuses on the improvements along State Street, which include shifting the northbound and southbound left turn lanes through the Century Avenue intersection, blue circle number 1, to where drivers would make a U-turn at a new signalized median location, blue circle number 2, and travel in the opposing direction to complete a right turn to continue travel along Century Avenue, blue circle number 3. This alternative would remove the northbound left turn lane at Gateway Mall entrance. Alternative C, options 1 and 2, also include improvements along the Century Avenue corridor previously discussed as part of Alternative B, options 1 and 2, which included the addition of westbound dual left turn lanes, restricted access at North 14th Street resulting in right-in, right-out access, and rerouting of traffic along North 15th Street and Mapleton Avenue, lengthening eastbound left turn lane to North 15th Street, lengthening eastbound right turn lane on Century Avenue, and replacement of the traffic signal systems at State Street and North 11th Street intersections, as well as curb ramp upgrades, and a new crosswalk would be installed on the south side of the main intersection. Option 2 modifications are related solely to Century Avenue and include the addition of dual eastbound to northbound left turn lanes on Century Avenue, along with a raised median on the west leg as previously noted, as opposed to the single eastbound to northbound left turn lane that currently exists. Improvements to the Interstate Avenue, Weiss Avenue, Harvest Lane, and Calgary Avenue intersections would be the same for Alternative C as was discussed as part of the Alternative B traditional turn lane modifications. This concludes our discussion on the geometric modifications related to the proposed alternatives along the State Street corridor. Over the next few slides, we will highlight the differences in the operational improvements between Alternative B and C. First, we will review the operational pros and cons of the innovative MUT intersection design alternative. The partial median U-turn offers the following positives, beginning with safety. With the MUT alternative, there are 10 fewer crossing conflicts and no left turn conflicts from the major street, for which these crossing conflicts tend to result in serious injury crashes. Also, the MUT improvements provide a lower intersection delay and fewer stops on the major street, which can lead to a reduction in rear-end crashes, and the MUT provides less exposure to non-motorized users from the left turning traffic. In addition, the level of service is greater with the MUT improvements, as the left turn signal timing can be reallocated to other phases, resulting in increased green time for other movements and a decrease in intersection delay, congestions, stops, and queuing. However, there are cons associated with this alternative as well. With this being a new concept to intersection operation, public education will be a key component to making the MUTs operate successfully, as unfamiliar drivers may still attempt to make left turns from the through lane on the main roadway, and when the U-turn is located at a side street approach, side street right turners could turn without yielding and collide with a U-turner. Rerouting may be viewed as a negative, as some movements are rerouted, resulting in longer travel distances, including traveling through the main intersection twice, and some nearby accesses require revisions to travel routes. And lastly, drivers will need to have an increased awareness due to high number of right turns at intersections and increased pedestrian crash potential. Also, the added traffic signal at the U-turn location creates a potential stop if the traffic signal coordination is disrupted. One of the key benefits of the partial median U-turn is that the intersection design, as shown in Figure 6, reduces the number of vehicle conflict points from 32 to 22 by removing the direct left turn movements, which generally have the greatest crash severity. By reducing the left turn signal phase, that signal time is added to other phases, which in turn reduces queuing and improves traffic flow for all other movements. The partial median U-turn may seem like a new concept locally, but MUTs have been used throughout the United States, predominantly in the state of Michigan for several years, which is where the Michigan left term is derived from. With several MUTs in operation, research studies have been conducted to determine their performance. Based on these studies, MUT intersections show safety performance improvements compared to traditional intersections, and rear end and angle crashes have shown decreases in crash frequency. These two types of crashes are the most common type along the State Street corridor. In efforts to address the safety and operational concerns along State Street, 3 key safety countermeasures are proposed as part of the safety improvements on this project. These include access management revisions, traffic signal improvements, and the partial median U-turn design alternative. The access management revisions included the 3/4 axis intersection modifications, along with other turning movement restrictions previously discussed. These revisions reduce crashes associated with minor street through and left crossing movements. Traffic signal improvements include placement of a retroreflective border around the signal head and backplates, which improves visibility during daytime and nighttime conditions. This is a Federal Highway Administration proven safety countermeasure with potential to reduce total crashes by 15%. Also improving the traffic signal timing to include snow event timing plans to address vehicle operating characteristics during inclement weather, acceleration, deceleration, traction, running speeds, etc. This change has potential to reduce all crash types related to non-dry conditions. Adding improved clearance intervals is another Federal Highway Administration proven safety countermeasure, where usage has shown 36 to 50% reduction in red light running, 8 to 14% reduction in total crashes, and 12% reduction in injury crashes. Other signal improvements to be added include placing signal heads above each travel lane and installing law enforcement confirmation lights to aid law enforcement in identifying red light violations. Studies have proven that they are most effective in reducing disobeyed signal crashes, right angle and left turn type in urban areas with a crash reduction factor of 28%. Lastly, revising the left turn phasing can reduce crashes at intersections with negative offsets associated with poor visibility of oncoming conflicting traffic. The table on the lower right depicts percent change in crashes from implementation of partial median U-turn intersections as compared to conventional intersections. Overall, partial median U-turns have potential for reducing all types of crashes by up to 37%, according to the source study. As previously noted, rear-end crashes are the most common along the project corridor, and a partial median U-turn have shown a 47% reduction in these types of crashes. As mentioned earlier in the presentation, the recent traffic operations study analyzed each intersection in the project study limits and reviewed the future year 2039 traffic capacity and provided recommendations to improve traffic safety and intersection level service along State Street. As we have already discussed, these 2 safety improvement recommendations were the traditional turn lane modifications alternative and a partial median U-turn alternative. For intersection level service, any location with a grade D or better is considered acceptable by the North Dakota Department of Transportation. Locations shown in red and orange would be considered to have unacceptable level of service due to excessive delay time. Noted in the legend below the level of service grades is the corresponding average delay or queue time drivers may experience at a particular location. For example, a level of service grade D would have an estimated 35 to 55 second delay. This slide depicts the level of service for each of the alternatives from Divide Avenue intersection to the Interstate 94 eastbound ramp intersection. The images in the upper row note the future level of service for alternative B, traditional turn lane modifications. Images in the lower row note the future level of service for alternative C, partial median U-turn alternative. Based on the traffic analysis, the proposed median U-turn locations provide a significant improvement in several approaches and overall intersection delay, particularly at the Divide Avenue and Capitol Avenue intersections. This slide depicts the level of service for each of the alternatives from the Interstate 94 westbound ramp intersection to the Calgary Avenue intersection. The images in the upper row note the future level of service for the traditional turn lane modifications alternative. Images in the lower row note the future level of service for the partial median U-turn alternative. Based on the traffic analysis, the proposed median U-turn location provides a considerable improvement in the approach and intersection delay at Century Avenue. This concludes the discussion on the proposed intersection alternatives, and now we'll review the environmental impacts associated with the design alternatives throughout the corridor. The proposed improvements result in consideration of historic properties, Section 4F, right-of-way, wetlands, economic, and social impacts as part of the environmental document. It has been determined there will be no impacts to historic properties or Section 4F properties as a result of this project. It is anticipated right-of-way impacts may be limited to temporary construction easements, and permanent right-of-way acquisition may be necessary pending selection of the intersection alternative. Impacts to existing wetlands are currently being developed as they relate to various geometric alternatives. Permanent impacts to designated wetlands would be mitigated as required by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Lane closures and work activity during construction may result in temporary economic and social impacts to adjacent businesses. Based on the selected alternatives, permanent impacts may also result in revised access to businesses. The long-term benefits would improve safety by reducing left turn conflicts at several intersections throughout the corridor. In order to construct the proposed improvements previously discussed, there will be impacts to traveling motorists. Although State Street will remain open to traffic during construction, work zone traffic control is anticipated to require closure to turn lanes and to through traffic lanes during specific work activities to allow crews to safely complete the proposed improvements. Flaggers may also be required to direct traffic through the work zone when necessary. No significant traffic detours are anticipated. However, traffic delays can be expected in construction work zones. These State Street improvements will be funded by multiple sources, including federal, state, and local funds. Project SHE 1083, parenthetical 118-901, safety improvements from Divide Avenue to Interstate 94, which include turn lanes, signals, and median U-turn alternatives, has a preliminary cost estimate of $2.2 to $4.5 million and will be funded with 90% federal, 5% state, and 5% City of Bismarck funds. Project SHE 1083, parenthetical 119-088, safety improvements from Interstate 94 to Calgary Avenue, which includes turn lanes, signals, and MUT alternatives, has a preliminary cost estimate of $3.5 to $5.0 million and will be funded with 90% federal and 10% state funds. Project NHU IM 1083, parenthetical 133-901, concrete pavement repairs from Divide Avenue to Interstate 94, has a preliminary cost estimate of $425,000 and will be funded with 80.93% federal, 9.07% state, and 10% City of Bismarck funds. Project NHU IM 1083, parenthetical 134-088, concrete pavement repairs from Interstate 94 to Calgary Avenue, has a preliminary cost estimate of $275,000 and will be funded with 80.93% federal and 19.07% state funds. And lastly, the structural repairs at Interstate 94, which are part of the concrete pavement repair projects, will be funded with 90% federal and 10% state funds. This concludes the virtual public input meeting for the State Street Safety and Intersection Improvements Project from Divide Avenue to Calgary Avenue in Bismarck. Your input is valuable in the selection of the proposed alternatives. If you have any comments, questions, or recommendations on the proposed alternatives, please submit written comments to Houston Engineering, attention Dion Wierzeniak, 4399 South Columbia Road, Suite 101, Grand Forks, North Dakota 58201, or submit comments by email to dwierzeniak@houstoneng.com with the subject Virtual Public Input Meeting. All comments must be postmarked or emailed by December 21st, 2021. Again, on behalf of the North Dakota Department of Transportation, the City of Bismarck, and Houston Engineering, we thank you for attending this presentation. At conclusion of this presentation, we are asking viewers to voluntarily complete the North Dakota Department of Transportation Title VI Public Participation Survey. A link to this confidential survey can be found under the North Dakota Department of Transportation Public Events Calendar, where you found this presentation. Thank you.